Rocky Andrews here with us from Worksop Christian Centre. He's become a good friend over the last year. How long have you been here now, Rocky?
Oh, it's
maybe 18,
15.
18 months?
No, just coming up to 16 months.
16 months.
Yeah.
And in that time, it feels like I've known him a lifetime.
Oh,
in
yes.
a good way.
I feel the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's somebody who I just value so much as a friend in ministry in this town. And one of the things I know is he is for Worksop, and he just is so desperate to see the kingdom come in this town. So Rocky, to start with, can you tell me how you became a Christian?
Well, Tim, I grew up in a Christian home. First, let me say thank you for this opportunity. I also want to say that when I came into Worksop, I needed a friend, and the Lord led me to you. He said, if you go and connect yourself with Tim, you'll have a good accountability spiritual partner in the ministry. And ever since then, I no regrets to have you to be in your team, basically. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Being that friend that I need, being 10,000 miles away from home.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a Christian home. My dad was one of the first Christians in his home because he started questioning his faith. He saw the number of things that his parents were doing as Hindus, and so he started to question it because he wasn't getting a logical explanation to anything that they were doing. And so he decided to explore the Christian faith. And in his exploration, he found a whole lot of truth in it. And he was one of the first persons to be a Christian in his home. And then he was kicked out of his home because he made the decision to follow Jesus. And when he made,
wow.
Yeah, pardon? Sorry, you asked a question?
No, I just said, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. So he was kicked out from his home, and he used to sleep in the pantry in the house without his parents knowing. And then he met my mother, and they got married. And so at the moment, all my dad's family that are alive are all born again Christians. Out of them, I think there's about 4 pastors in the family. And
wow, cool.
And 4 of his sisters married pastors. And then on my mother's side, my mother's eldest brother was a pastor. And so there was a big flow of the Christian faith into the rest of the family since my father made that decision. But then as we grew up, we were taken to church and, the normal Christian stuff that we were doing. And I came to a point in my life where you start to, at the teenage years, you decide, oh, is this for me? It was good for my parents. Should I make a decision to be part of it? And on the 13th of July, 1985, I was 19 years old, just coming up to 19 years old. And I had an encounter with God in a Sunday morning service. And I said to the Lord, I want to make a decision to follow you. And there was a total 180-degree turnaround. And I just went back to the Lord and I said, right. Largely, the reason for me making that decision is that my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And I said to the Lord that if you heal my mother, I'll commit my life and dedicate my life to you. And my mother lived 10 years after that. And so it was an excitement to me because the doctor gave her 6 months in 1985 to live. And so when she came home with that news, I went to the Lord and I kind of made a pact with him, like a deal, and said to him, you heal my mother, you got my life forever. And so, yeah, on the 13th of July, 1985, I made a commitment to follow Jesus. And ever since then, I've been constantly walking the walk with him. So I wasn't depending on my parents' faith anymore. It was my deliberate decision to follow Jesus and make him the Lord of my life. And every time it comes towards Easter, I am constantly reminded of this price that Jesus paid for us, that this debt that I owed that I couldn't pay, and the debt that he didn't have to pay, which he didn't owe, but he voluntarily paid so that I can be reconnected to God, was an amazing thing, because even after you you make this commitment to follow Jesus, you keep asking yourself the question, did I make the right decision? And so in the process, you start to not dabble, but try to investigate other paths that people talk about. And so I went down a couple of roads, not abandoning my faith, but trying to find out if there's an alternative or if this is the only way. Because when Jesus made the statement and said, he is the way, then that's a big statement to make. So I wanted to know whether there's an alternative to it. So I went trying to study a few other things. Because I've come from Hinduism, I did some studies in that. And then I tried to explore Islam a bit and try to find out exactly what's going on there. And then it all brought me back to this truth that Jesus Christ, who claims to be the only way, is fundamentally true to me. And so I made that decision, that deliberate decision to follow him.
Wow. And so what was it like growing up in apartheid, Rocky?
Oh, that's a when I go back to my teenage years, because I was in the throes of it in my teenage years. It was like quite a surprise when you want to explore certain things in your life and you find that you can't do it because there's a pecking order that has been created by the apartheid government, and you were right in the bottom of the rung of that pecking order. And so, for example, in 1990, I felt a deep calling in my life to go into full-time ministry because I'm a mechanical fitter by trade. And so when I resigned from my job to get into this, it wasn't like you just walk into a Bible college and here you are, hey, Rocky, you can come and study and be in the ministry. No, it was once again the pecking order. The white part of the church had all the best colleges, the best dormitories, the best, all the top real estate, and then we were shunned to another part of South Africa where we had to go and live with all the hand-me-downs basically that came to us eventually from the white part of the church. And so it was a major struggle to just when you made a decision to follow Jesus, because remember, coming up in an Indian home or in an Indian community, Jesus was a white man's God. So why are you abandoning your religion to go and follow this white man's God? And see what the white men are doing to us at the moment. And the weird thing about this whole apartheid structure in South Africa is it was the white people that brought the gospel to the other colors in the community. So within all this, you are trying to figure out, am I making the right decision? And it was a major struggle. So when it comes to what we are experiencing presently in this country, we, to a large extent, grew up that way. So when the government decided that there's going to be a lockdown, you can't move from your house, you got to obey that and just stay put where you are. Because if you are found in the street, at least now the government is trying to tell people go home and get back to the safe places that you need to be. With us, there was no first warning and second warning and final notice. If you were caught in violation, you would be immediately arrested and taken away. And you'll spend a week, sometimes you'll spend like a week or two in prison without any trial or any reason for why you are there. And then after that, the judge will say, okay, go. And then you try to figure out what's going on in your life. And so within all this struggle, you are still trying to serve this God who has been claimed to be the white man's God. So whenever the government said lockdown, you stay in your house, you don't move. And we weren't spreading any viruses then. We were just, because the color of my skin was the reason I had to be under lockdown in a way. The other interesting thing that happened in the last week, my wife and I went out for an exercising walk. And every time while walking down the street, every time we saw people walking towards us, they will cross the street to not be social distancing. So social distancing was a norm back in South Africa under the apartheid system, because white people walking towards you, they automatically cross the road. And sometimes it is your duty to cross the road when you see the white person coming towards you. So now when we were experiencing this in the last week or two, I said, "Oh, this brings back so many memories that you know you would leave your house, go into a town or a good set up area, and know that you're going to be avoided like a plague because your skin color is different." So it just brought back memories of you can't go to the park because now we're not going because of the coronavirus. There back in South Africa, you couldn't go to certain parks and certain beaches because of the color of your skin again. So if you were caught in those areas, you get arrested. So the similarities is like frightening now when you start things happening again.
And what helped you through that time of apartheid? And what could that bring to us today in lockdown?
I think quite often the questioning of your faith becomes a real issue, because you're unsure as to how do I proceed with this? Because on one hand, the government is asking you to stay put. On the other hand, your faith is asking you to trust God for the best. And you're trying to tie these two things in, and there's an automatic struggle that you are grappling with on a daily basis. But what I've noticed coming back from South Africa in that system is that the more we've been oppressed, the more our faith developed. The more the white government came and clamped down on us, the more we started to grow spiritually and saying we're going to trust God through this time. It's something like the whole spirituals in America, where when they were oppressed, how they would sing these hymns and sing these songs of liberation and freedom. It was a similar thing with us because we knew who Jesus was. You see, you can know a whole lot of things about Jesus, but you need to know him personally. And when you have that personal encounter with him, and you come to that point of intimacy with him, then nothing, no government, no virus, no demon in hell is going to shake that, because you know who your master is, and you are constantly driven by that. You know, this morning we were sitting and having a devotion, my wife and I was saying to her that if everything was normal today in church, my sermon was going to be about the two bowls in the scriptures. The dish that Jesus took and washed his disciples' feet, the dish that Pilate took and washed his hands.
Yeah.
And Jesus is calling us to wash our disciples, wash the people's feet that will harm us, that will hurt us, that will be like against us. Whereas most of the time we choose to be like Pilate, where the minute we get into a trial circumstances, let's wash my hands off this. I don't want to be involved in this. And this is where the church rises. The church grows the best when it doesn't know what to do. Then its dependency is on God. Because now our programs. I mean, think about that. If this didn't happen, we would all have a set program for today.
Yeah.
And then this happens, and then Jesus says, right, let's look at it differently now. Let's see how we can do exactly what he meant when he said, when you pray, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So here we are sitting and we are looking at, I'm going to miss church today. I'm going to miss this Good Friday service. And Jesus is saying to you, well, maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's your focus upon me rather than an event. We become so event focused that we forget the master himself. So we want
Rocky. That's
we
so
want to
good.
serve God. Yeah, we want to serve God with all the things that we do. And more and more, even this week we were going through this last 21 days, we've been going through the book of John. And more we find Jesus saying, I want you to be. I don't want you to go about doing a whole lot of things. I want you to be. I want you to be my disciples. I want you to be lovers of this world, the people that are in this world who need me. I want you to be there for the people that are struggling and are downtrodden and are really hurting. That's where I want you to be. And so more and more you come to that, you come to acknowledge this Jesus that we are talking about, who is calling you to a relationship with him and not to relationships with events that we have.
Yes, yes. That's really good. Thank you, Rocky. And is there any last word you want to leave us with, or are you finished there?
You know, last night I started my live feed with a quote, and basically it said that this lockdown should help you to learn a new skill, learn a new way of doing something, or come out of this lockdown a better person because you had the time. And if you fail to come out a better person from this, you don't lack time, you lack discipline. So if we can start disciplining ourselves and say, God has given us all this time. Let's see if we can sharpen a skill. Let's see if we can read a new book. Let's see if we can try something else and use this time to do that. When we come out on the other side, I can guarantee you one thing, that it's not going to be business as usual. Church,
no.
Everything that we do is going to be redefined, and how we take it. Because you know what's the temptation, Tim? Is that when we go back from this, on the other side of this, we will go back to our normal programs. We will just maintain whatever we had till the next crisis comes. But we can go from here. You know, on the live feeds that we've been doing and going and listening to different people doing the live feeds, when we've been doing a live feed, I don't understand what it means by people reached and people watching and stuff. But every single night, there's like 2,000 people reached through the live feed. When you look at that, if we were sitting in a Sunday morning service, we were not going to accomplish that.
No.
Here God comes and he says, wait, I need you to speed up the process. And in order for you to speed up the process, here's how you're going to do it. And now we have new things. Our technological skills are advancing. We're getting all these ideas. And then here's my concluding remarks. Jesus is speaking and he says, no matter what goes on around you, the coronavirus, another issue, after this, an economical crunch and a crash or whatever it is, there are two things that I want you to come out of this with. Number one, I want you to be a Mary who sat at the feet of Jesus to listen constantly to him. Otherwise, this world and all the systems are going to dictate what we do. The second thing, I want you to be a John. Lay your head upon his breast and listen to his heartbeat. Otherwise, once again, we listen to all the voices around us and we'll try to invent church based on the voices rather than on what the master is asking us to do. So sit at the feet of Jesus and download from him. Place your head upon his breast and hear his heartbeat for this time.
Thank you, Rocky. That's really good. And I'm just so excited about what is happening in the churches in Worksop. And I really think God is moving powerfully.
Yeah.
So thank you, Rocky.